Kena cuci dulu.
Please, no, no. Oh, no, two computers. Yeah, just turn it off. Yeah.
Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good evening, everyone. So, we are fortunate to have our visiting professor from New Orleans University, Professor Dr. Kabir Hassan. He's a professor in finance and also Islamic finance. And today he'll be giving a talk on how to begin and complete a doctoral dissertation and publish it. So for about 1 hour, we will give the talk, and after that, there's going to be a question and answer session. Okay. All right. Prof. Kabir, the floor is yours.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening. It appears to me that all of you are working adults, right? Yeah. You came from your job, you must be very tired and ready to go home. But before I start, so there are two groups here, right? Masters and PhD. Yeah. Okay. So let me start this session introducing each other because we are all adults. So I start from you. Would you please tell me who you are, what you are studying, what area and where you work?
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nick Sahazman. Currently, I'm working as an internal auditor in the Malaysian Rubber Board. For this, my PhD, my study area is supply chain management.
And who is your advisor?
Not appointed yet.
Not appointed yet.
My name is Yasmin. Currently, I'm unemployed. So my research currently regarding personal finance.
Islamic finance?
personal finance,
Personal finance. Any specific area in personal finance?
microfinance.
Microfinance? Okay. And you haven't decided on a advisor, supervisor? EHG. And which state are you from?
Malaysian Rubber Board.
No, no, which state?
Which state? Oh, first semester, sorry.
No, no, that's not what I meant. State means.
Negeri, Malaysia negeri, is it?
Yes, okay, I mean like Para,
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm from Pahang.
you're Pahang. You have a lot of mangoes there?
Yeah.
You? Selangor. Johor. So the next king is coming from you, right? From your state. Next king is coming from your state.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The king is
Next,
already.
yeah.
From Selangor. My research area on
Europe? Human resource. So Selangor is Anwar Ibrahim constituency, right? His party is ruling Selangor, right? No, I know. Yeah, but- Yeah, he's from Kedah, okay. No, he's from Penang. Penang, yeah, yeah. And you?
Okay, my name is Muhammad Firdaus. Currently freelance consultant, and I'm from Kelantan.
Kelantan? Yeah, Kelantan is very famous. Have you heard? And what you studying?
My area is in banking fraud.
Banking fraud. Wow. Okay. And you, sir?
From state of Johor. Currently, my studies on the certification of palm oil in Malaysia.
Certification of palm oil. Okay. So you guys had a problem with India, right? You solved.
But never mind, we have China.
Okay. And you?
My name is Farooq Shamafi. Now currently I'm working with Recon company, Porta from Japan SK. My research now I'm doing in ride sharing.
Rent sharing.
Ride sharing, yeah.
Right sharing. Or ride sharing. Okay.
E-hailing. Ride-sharing.
So why do you bring car from Japan? You have your own cars in the same country.
Sometimes Malaysian likes Japan's car.
Japanese car. Okay.
Japanese car.
I do have Japanese car too in the United States. And you, which state you said?
I'm from Johor.
You are from Johor.
Gunung Ledang.
Gunung Ledang. Okay. A lot of Johorians here, right?
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Good evening. My name is Shafi Abdul Rahman. So my nickname is Shafi Rahman. I'm working as application engineer, and I'm from Ipoh, Perak. Currently, I would like to do on my thesis is on sustainability, focusing on electric vehicles adoption rate.
So the current king is from Pira or
The current king is from Pahang.
He's
Pahang.
from Pahang. Yeah,
and he's the brother-in-law of the incoming king, right?
yeah, true.
Okay.
The one is from Johor.
Johor. Okay. I know a lot of things. Yeah. I also know that he wants to take control of the Petronas, right? The new king. Just kidding. So you are an engineer by training, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You bodybuild? Good. Sister, you?
from
Faculty of Accountancy here at UiTM. And you're from Parlis and you're doing a PhD? Another Parlis mango, I know. So what are you studying, sister?
on sustainable advantage
From the accounting perspective or from overall? Okay. You haven't decided the specific? Not yet. Okay. Sister, you? So faculty of what? Yeah, but I see a building there, let's say faculty, FEB, faculty of business and management. It's not the same thing. So RE is located in faculty of accountancy, accounting research center. Oh, okay. I've been there before. Okay. What are your research topic? Oh, financial. Okay.
My area of study is practices performance, positivity and technological innovation, influencing the performance of practices with a motivating looking at the role of practical test or community evaluation and motivating.
So the way you're saying, you're making some progress in your thesis already, right? Because you could tell the. Yeah, okay. It's very good, very good, very good. And you said which state are you from? Sri Lanka. Okay. Sister, Walaikum Assalam. Pahang.
Social media options and its influence on the fundraising system.
By the way, this current king has two wives, right? Not one, two.
Which one is it?
Current one. Guys, I know so much about your country. You don't know.
Is it current king, you mean?
Yeah, the current king.
Yeah.
We know, but we cannot,
Yeah, we know.
we
He
cannot
take-
talk.
Huh?
We know, but we cannot talk.
You cannot talk? I can talk.
Yeah.
I was told the three things you don't talk in Malaysia, 3R, right? Race, religion, and royal.
Yeah.
Okay, but in the United States, we can say anything.
That's special case.
Specialty, enjoy. No, just- So, oh, no, the professor is sitting there with you. Your sister, you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Zarina Mohammadin. I'm from Selangor. I am leading a team, quality assurance engineering for presentation of Asian Bank and Japan.
Great.
My areas of studies is studies under area of partnership collaborations, strategic alliance,
Oh, different.
provide these services.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
Second of all, my name is Lazmi. From the city of Selangor. My research study will be covered into the repurchase detection.
E-commerce, okay.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Hassan, and I'm from Kabir. And my materials is service tax compliance among Malaysia taxation. Static food and beverages service sector.
So, is good to know, huh? Oh, no. No. But have I seen you here? You work here in this? Do you work in AGSB?
I'm electrical from
Or accounting also? Because I think I have seen you somewhere. Or maybe all Malaysian ladies look the same, right? Yeah, somewhere I have seen you somewhere, you see? Okay, so thank you. It is good to know all of you. And I can tell you, without even knowing your age, I'm the oldest man here. I'm officially should be retired if I were in Malaysia. I turned 60 back in October. And I'm going to ask you with this question, why you want to do a PhD? I asked the same question to Arlena while I was coming here. The reason I'm saying this, I have a 25-year-old son, only son, and I also have a daughter. So I asked my son, to follow like father, like son, become a professor like me. So he, very smart guy, he went to Harvard undergrad, and he works as a private equity investment banker, makes a lot of money. Then I said, no, I don't need a PhD. He said, why? I mean, well, everything you do, I already practice it. I mean, what should I know more? So he fell in love with a girl. He wants to get married. So I told him that, okay, if you don't do a PhD, at least you do something, earn a bachelor's degree. So the condition, I'll let him marry that girl, provided he makes a contract with me, he'll do at least an MBA. So he got married, 1 year ago. The good, we live in the United States. So only thing we pray to God that we marry someone of similar kind, That's another cultural struggle that we have to face, you do not face in this country. So Alhamdulillah, he is attending Wharton Business School to do his MBA. Sometimes I ask myself that question too. I have supervised in the United States, in my department, 75 myself. So when I say 75 PhD supervision in the United States is like 300 in Malaysian context. The reason I'm saying this, because in our program, you become a student again. So let's say typical program is 4 years, with or without masters. If you're smart, we really don't require you to have a master's, but majority of the students in our program comes with a master's. So then you have 4 years, you basically 2.5 years you take coursework and very structured coursework, and you become a student, you do homework, you take exam, and you have to pass. Once you pass those, then you have first hurdle that you have to take a qualifying exam on certain subjects, like micro, macro, corporate finance, investment. So once you pass it, then you take 6 seminar classes. Seminar is more like PhD student driven, so we lecture, but also you lecture more, give a paper for you to analyze, critique, and so on. Then after 3 years, when you pass another exam, it's called field exam. So after 3 years, you become ABD, all but dissertation. So our thesis duration is roughly 1 year. Somebody might take 2 years, depending on qualification and how speedily he or she can work. So you get the degree. So now the question is, you do not come here choosing a professor that I want to work with, Professor Arlena or Professor Vileka. You don't. You have to go through the process, and then while you're taking classes, you try to gel with professor, see this professor is good, or this is the area I'd like to work in, and he has an expertise, then you choose. And it's 100% upon you, or you choose not to choose. We cannot dictate that. And then you write your thesis, and the thesis requirement is not rigorous as here, okay? But with, like say, average 5 to 7 students in each intake. So if you do 75, that means majority of the students are gravitating towards you, right? Otherwise, the numbers do not get there. This is my 33rd year teaching at the University of New Orleans. I finished my PhD at the age of 27 from University of Nebraska-Lincoln. You can tell from my face, I'm also my brother. I'm originally from Bangladesh. I went to the United States at the age of 19, all of my degrees in the United States, 40 plus years, but I married a Bengali woman, so that's the mistake I didn't make. The marriage is a difficult thing to begin with, right? So you try to marry within the same, you are Penang, you marry someone Penang, you understand the culture, even so you know what I mean. So My wife is a physician, by the way. So she makes a lot more money than I do, and she loves me a lot. That part. And we have two. My daughter is older. She also went to Harvard, but she's still trying to searching the meaning of life. She's older than, but she did a second degree from Harvard. But she is started a startup in machine learning. Her degree was in neurobiology. Because my wife's doctor, I thought that she would become, follow the mother's footsteps. None of the children follow our footsteps. They have their own way of thinking, and that's the new generation. You cannot really mold them the way our parents used to do that, right? Like same culture, if you have 5 kids, they say you become a doctor, you become an engineer, you have to do that, right? And you marry Mr. Hussein's son, daughter, because I gave him a promise when I was little, right? Everything is that in your life. But in the United States, it's not. So PhD who do with a purpose. And I was talking to Arlena, said that it's a cultural value. That means it's not personal gratification that you're doing a PhD. It is also society values you. In the United States, nobody values whether you have a PhD or not. But if you want to teach at a university, it's a union card. You must have a PhD. Otherwise, we don't hire you. But here, you become a teaching assistant, you become kind of faculty. But in the United States, the starting point, you have come with a PhD and you're appointed as an assistant professor. Then you get tenure, promotion, associate, and full. So this is the 3 rank that we have. We don't have like professorship like A, B, and C in this country. We have only 1 professor. So how do we distinguish a good professor from a not bad professor? I'm talking about with better credential. We call this chair position. So chairs are given to the productive faculty. And chair doesn't necessarily have to be a full professor. It could be associate, depending on the qualification, depending on the funding agency's need. So with this background, I want to tell you something, my journey, my giving of many years of experience supervising. It's not only that, I also supervised a few students because I've been coming to Malaysia since 2008, which is what, 25 years. My first journey was in GSM, UPM. I used to come there on a regular basis as a visiting faculty. I think GSM now has been changed, Putra Business School. Then I also came to UKM as a visiting professor. Now I'm here. So while I was doing in GSM, basically, I co-supervised a number of PhD students. So I'm a little bit familiar the structure that you have in this country. But the structure that in the United States have, no longer you have you have an introduction, motivation, this and that, 5 or 6 chapters you have to do. And you have to, at every stage, you have to prove yourself, okay, you have done that. But in the United States, you do sort of essay-based research. So you are supposed to write 3 publishable essays. You don't have to publish it, but you have to write in a way that your supervisor thinks is a good quality. You get your degree, and then you may publish or not publish. Unlike here, many universities here that you have to have a publication as a requirement for your PhD. So we come from 2 different traditions. North American tradition, you basically follow the British tradition. Great Britain, then Australia, they follow this type of tradition. Now, finishing a PhD, for me, I was very close to my mother. I lost my father when I was 11 years old. I cried for 1 year. When I came to the United States as an undergrad student, I came to Minnesota. It's totally opposite. Bangladesh is very similar, hot and humid. And Minnesota, 8 months, there's cold weather. 0 degree is like 8 months. So I'm surviving this one. I miss my mother. So all I did, I studied, okay? So I finished my degree very quickly. That's the reason I could finish. Then I got a job in, in private sector, but I do not know why, maybe your destiny. So I thought that maybe I do not fit in the, private sector. Not everything is for you. So I decided to become a professor. So I need to have a PhD. So I applied, I got into graduate program. And I come from a very poor family, so all of my degrees are funded by scholarship from the United States, not from my country. So when I was doing my PhD, I changed my field many times. Okay, not many times. I first life, after high school, British system, I'm sure in this country, you go to medical school after finishing high school, right? What do you call this? 12 or 13 years, right? You do not have to get a college degree in this country to go to medical school.
Still the same.
No. You finish your high school, you apply, and you get to medical school, right?
Yeah.
In Malaysia.
We have the diploma and also the foundations for before entering the medical schools.
Yeah, but the foundation, even before you enter the medical school. So you finish your high school, let's say 12 years, and you have to do a diploma before you go to medical school. That's a requirement.
Yeah.
Foundation. Foundation means biology, chemistry, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Preparations.
But it is, how many years in Malaysia? 1 year?
Maximum 2 years, minimum is 1 year.
1 year, and then once you enter medical school, how many years?
5 years.
So it is like 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
And then you do residency. I'm talking about internship.
Yeah.
That is 1 year, right?
Yeah.
2 years. So it's a little longer here in this country. But we follow the British system. Don't you follow the British system?
Depends on institutions. Yeah, sometimes they might follow US and sometimes they might follow British.
Oh, they depends varies, but you do not follow the American system yet. In America, you have to get a bachelor's degree first before you go to medical school. So it takes longer. So what happened, just the journey to understand also dissertation, the same thing. So right after high school, I went to medical school in Bangladesh. This is what is expected. If you do good in the high school, but after 1 year, I quit medical school. I didn't like it. Then I went to university to study economics. So, I come from a lower middle class family, and my father died a long time ago, and I did very well in high school. So everybody was saying bad things to my mother, and I couldn't take it. Why people say because of my bad things. So I started applying to America. 1 year medical, 1 year university. Then I got a scholarship. I came to the United States to study physics. So, I started physics and, you have to do a lot of lab work, and I didn't like it either.
Yeah.
So I quit that one. I was looking for something which I can lie down and do this. So I chose economics and mathematics. So, you don't need a piece of paper. Of course, you do whatever, you can do your computer and so on. But when I was going there, computer was a luxury. It was not really that big. If you had to do a program, you had to go to the lab in the university. So I finished my degree in economics and mathematics. Then I went to economics PhD. 2 years later, I didn't like it either. So not like it either, there's another reason too, because when I was starting or about to finish my PhD, this first Iraq war happened, 1990, the Bush. So there was a backlash against a Muslim, and I have a very beautiful name, Muhammad Kabir Hassan. So I shortened this so that they couldn't catch me that I'm really Muhammad. So actually that was advised my advisor, American advisor, that you cut it short so that you do not get this backlash. At least they give the first chance. They do not throw it away. Then you can prove yourself you are really good. I think that worked very well. The year I went to the market, I got 9 job offers. And in the United States, it's really, if you achieve something, you can be proud of yourself. No mama, okay, no wasta or network. It's you that you prove yourself. And so that environment exists in the United States. You can be anything as long as you work hard. I could make a career in the United States. People know me in the United States. But if I were in Bangladesh, I would not be able to do this, because all of these things will be restricted after one point. Because all the rich and famous, the connected families get this. To a degree, it's true in this country too, but I think you have gone over that one. But in Bangladesh, still that culture exists. So I did my PhD after 2 years. I went to the finance. I did my PhD in finance. So this is why I'm saying this PhD also a journey like this. You may start with something, you may end up doing something else. But that flexibility in this country is less than the flexibility that we have in the United States. In the United States, age is not a bar. There is no retirement age. So even though I could be officially retired in this country, but I can work up until, as long as I can carry on, until I die. I mean, if I choose to. And many of my colleagues do that. You know, one of my colleagues just retired 85 years old. He was a professor for 55 years. So that is the environment I'm coming from. Now, since I have the flavor of both, because I got my degree from the United States, I supervise over there, also Malaysian flavor I have, I co-supervise, few while I was DSM visiting. So let me go over some prepared slides. And I'm going to make this available to you so you can look it later. Can I take this thing, two things up somewhere? Because I cannot read. Oh, okay, I can read probably that way, okay. As long as I read this. Because these two are creating a problem for me. And then, okay. Oh, okay, okay. So, I already answered the first slide. You're here because you're patient for a degree. You want to earn a degree for personal gratification or professional advancement, whatever the reason is. So making it important, choose a topic that you are deeply interested in and highly motivated to contribute to. And sometimes you have the luxury, you can choose because you know what you want to do. Sometimes you don't know what you want to do, so you are supervisor dependent. And you probably have a good supervisor, he has many ideas, then you hop on an idea and you start working because you want to finish. Now, second, the PhD candidate should be aware that research does not occur in a vacuum. It's not like you slept on morning, oh, Eureka, I got this idea. You really have to toil yourself, go through the painful process. Ultimately, it is necessary for acceptability to convince others, dissertation committee, seminar listeners, conferences, journals, and colleagues of the high quality of your work. You know, you want to be proud of your work. You can tell that I have done that, right? I mean, this is it's not like any other accomplishment. It's a very unique accomplishment in your life. It is your responsibility to prove to your dissertation committee that your work makes a sufficient contribution to the existing literature to merit the PhD. But you have another hindrance in this country. It's not only your supervisor. You have to convince somebody else from outside. I get on the average 2 dissertations a month because an external evaluator has to say, there's a, click mark he has to do that. It is worthy of giving a PhD thesis. But unlike the process here or the process in British, in the United States, I am the king, supervisor. If you say you get a degree, you get a degree. Nobody can say anything. So the onus is upon the supervisor to guide, because you want to be proud of your PhD student, and your student has to get a job. And after the job, he has to or she has to keep the job. And how do you keep the job? You have to keep publishing. So if you do not train you properly, you cannot publish on your own, right? So you're in trouble. So it's a, symbiotic relationship. So it's not like, so even though I am the king, your life depends on me, but at the same time, my life depends on you too. Because you become a flop, the word gets around what type of professor his student is not getting tenure promotion somewhere else. Third, and foremost, at the initial stage, the PhD candidate should be able to produce an interesting story to motivate the research. As such, a seminar presentation should captivate an audience to look forward with interest to the presentation of the work, even at a pre-completion stage. Unfortunately, here in this country, you come up with a proposal, right? Sometimes I think it doesn't do any, if I want to change the system, I would say that probably is not right, you're doing this. First of all, I'm starting my PhD, right? I don't, maybe many of those who jump from undergrad, probably they're fresh in ideas. But you come 10 years, you have a break, right? You've forgotten everything that you have learned in undergrad, right? You are on the job training, you are maximizing skill, but then all of a sudden you say, write a proposal. How do I write a proposal? And what it takes? So that thing should be thought about in the future, not necessarily like you do for medical school, you have a foundation. Maybe they take some foundation class during this time, they have to come up with a proposal. And if you can, then probably it's not what you're pursuing is easy. You follow what I'm saying? Rather than submitting a proposal even before admittance. So that probably you can think when you try to do the curriculum change, that will do more service to them. Now, this is especially important for academic positions where the seminar presentations are important to the interview. I know many of you do not want to become, except you ladies, because your life is now in academia, but the rest of you, well, you do not want to become a professor. Maybe when you grow older, you don't like your boss anymore. He is not giving you a promotion for 3 years, quit and come to me, I'm different, but you are not really trained, or that is not your primary objective. Now, beyond that, regardless of purpose, your dissertation-based seminar, motivation and delivery and ability to address questions, defend position and accept critics are important to the ultimate position you obtain and your professional standing. And you already know this by this time, since your work life experience, you know all of these things to a degree that you can pass very easily. I mean, presenting yourself, convincing someone, depending on your field. But there are, you find some students are very, mute, quiet, very smart, don't like public speaking, but that is part of the process we grill you, right? When you join the army, you have to go through all the drill, right? You cannot say, oh, I don't like to swim. You have to swim. Fourth, the PhD candidate must be dedicated to the effort involved in a dissertation. You must have a purpose, a commitment. I mean, otherwise, why you are here for? Keep this in mind, and I keep telling my students, I have a bunch of Saudi students, they think that they paid the fees, they get their degree. I said, no, you don't do that. But even though they have to go through all this in the final stage, what snag happens, in our program, I have noticed over 33 years of data, if we start with 10 students, 5 drop out by the time first qualifying and the field exam. Another 5 survives, and out of this 5, only 3 completes. So only 30% completion rate. I want to say the conclusion of my presentation. A best dissertation is a finished dissertation. When you're at the final stage, there's so many things happen. Your job problem, marital problem, kids problem, that problem. So many people really cannot continue like this. So since that dedication must be there, otherwise it will be difficult to finish. And there is also not only that, on-time completion, right? I hear this word, oh, finished and on time. Somebody was telling me, so it took 6 years, different cycle stages of life you face through. Fifth, the PhD candidate by virtue of candidacy is assumed to be prepared to write a dissertation product, having the necessary skills with the theory and methodology and the ability to read literature to make a significant contribution. And you have different courses like current events, this and that, where you have to read a number of papers assigned by your professor, so that you know how to read, how to make meaning out of it, how to summarize, and so on. And this is a necessary skill set you must earn during the process. But the PhD candidate must now develop a deep desire to use the skill to actually write the dissertation and have the tenacity to overcome hurdles that may be in the way. So this is what I was talking about in the context of Malaysia. You have like typical dissertation, introduction, contents, research background, problem statement, research objectives, significance of the study, structure of the dissertation. And from my experience, what I've seen in GSM, after you write the first chapter, you have to get it vetted by the committee. So you present it, and committee means not necessarily dissertation committee. There is a committee structured by the college or and then you vetted it. This once you have, you're ready to go. Okay, you have a topic, you start, then you do the literature review, then the data and methodology, data analysis and interpretation, discussion, implication, conclusion, and future research. So these are a typical 6-chapter dissertation in Malaysia. Now, how many of you in stage 1?
Yeah, we are.
Done. How about stage 2? Done. How about stage 3? Chapter 3? No. You're about to start, right? Many of you are in this step 3. So this is, again, many of you probably don't have the skill set how to collect data, process data. So this is where you spend a significant amount of time. But when I did my PhD, we did not have any software available. We had to write our own code. I did my program in Fortran. Nobody knows about Fortran. It's there, long gone. That time. Now here, there are friendly econometric software, and it's easy to learn, but you have to have a knack and aptitude for it. You know, some of us have math phobia. Anything that is in math, and you have to overcome that because you are doing a PhD. Even if you do that survey analysis, you have to collect the survey, you have to analyze the survey, and so on. Then chapter 4, data analysis, interpretation, discussion, and implication, conclusion, and future research. What I would tell the supervisors, that supervisor must and you must be involved in each stage. It's like a friendly way. Like some of the, I hear the anecdote, you know, there are some students who are very good. They don't need the supervisor. I mean, supervisors can be, take money, you have to supervise stepwise. They can follow and they can do, and they show the work to the supervisor is very happy. But there are only 10% of this. The 90% need very directed guidance, and because of you are not a typical PhD students. I'm talking about typical means, you know, get out of the undergrad and just start your PhD program. In the United States, majority of the PhD students are like this. Yeah, we have this latecomer, you know, they work few years and come back. But if they come back, you have to understand they want to change their career. They do not like private sector anymore. So they want to come to academia because, you know, you work 5 months out of 12 months, you can have your, you know, roti chana and everything. You're not rich, but you have a peaceful life. Because the corporate sector life is, how long can you sustain it, right? It really has a toll on you. Like my son works 70 to 80 hours a week. I told, you know, one day you'll listen to me, you'll come back, become a professor like that. Because you see, half of the day I sleep, and you cannot sleep, you always complain. So in the United States, it happens because of career change. But in your culture or in Bangladesh, that's for other reasons as well. Now, as I said, in Bangladesh, in the United States, we have this essay-based thesis. So typically 2 to 3 self-contained journal-ready essays can be disjoint or related to the same issue. At UNO, we follow essay-based format. Personally, I prefer this format because in the United States, you do have to publish few papers for the first 6 years of your life after you get an academic job. We have the concept for tenure. So 6 years, you know, will watch you, your teaching, your research output, and your service. And you have to have a certain, you know, numbers that you have to fulfill. Then with the tenured faculty of the department get together and vote on it. So it is not only your skill set, but you also want to see whether you're a good citizen, whether you will belong to this family. You will not become a nuisance, you know, make everybody's life hell. You know, sometimes you don't, why? Get rid of this, you know. Same thing. So that thing happens. So you want to make sure one of these things that they have publication. So dissertation have to be has a publication quality. That's why you go with this essay type. Even if you, let's say you have written a paper, many times it comes to me, Doc, you are my school supervisor, or I have written, I want to write a paper out of these things because the pressure is building up. You know, cutting into a 6 chapter, and because in each essay, you have all the elements of the 6 chapters, right? And you have to put this in 30 pages. It is a lot of work, right? Because your typical dissertation like 150, 200 pages, how do you make it? That takes another. So, but if you do this, follow this format, I do not know whether they allow in Malaysia, but probably that would be a format you can think about it. You know, not the typical format, 6 chapters, you know, essay-based format. So you write 3 independent essays related on the same field, like the supply chain. So you can submit this for PhD thesis. Think about it, Professor. It's probably is good. Now, how do you write dissertation writing tips, right? First question, you want to choose a chairperson. Choosing a dissertation chairperson is very important. Second most important decision you will make as a PhD student after your first decision of choosing the right spouse. Believe me. If you make a mistake, you'll suffer. So now, the question that you do, is it a researchable? Does it make contribution to the discipline? You may have a good idea, I want to go to the moon. Okay, I have a thinking about a rocket I'm building, I'm going to go to the moon. Fine. But can you research it? Let's say you build it, you'll be spending the rest of your life. You know, this Elon Musk is trying to have this moon journey, but he's a smart kid, you know, he can gamble $45 billion of his money on Twitter. Now Twitter is facing a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But these are different categories. You call this statistical outlier. These are normal, not normal people. They are abnormal, positive way. Now, is it original? Will I finish on time? Does my supervisor like it? You have to ask all this question. Now, your chair is moderately interested in a topic. Do not go to someone who is not his or her area of interest, because now you have put the supervisor in trouble too. Because supervisor agreed, now supervisor has to put his own time, try to understand. Maybe supervisor can pick these things faster than you do, but time is limited, right?
Yeah.
Read your paper with a critical eye within a reasonable time after submission. Sometimes you give your paper to your supervisor, you don't hear back from him or her for 2 months. It doesn't help you, right? So you want someone, the reputation, and his chair is accessible anytime. You can call him at 10 o'clock. Hey, Prof, I'm having this problem. I'm talking about this friendly and collegial relationship. Some supervisors are very, rigid. You cannot call me between this and that and so on. But you have to have this flexibility because this is a team player. You are co-creating. It's not only supervisor who does not necessarily know more than you do the topic you choose, but you are co-creating. So you have to be a partner. Your chair knows his mind, makes a decision, and stick to it. So you do not choose a weird supervisor. I'm saying this word, weird, my class. Yeah, believe me, there are some weirdos, sometimes they can make your life hell. Fortunately, I was lucky to have very good supervisor. They were supportive. So I follow what I learned from my own supervisor, how to treat my students. Your chair makes sure that your proposal and dissertation gets done. Your chair is respected both personally and professionally by others in the field. So if you work with a famous professor, you can tell I was a student of this professor. And many of your lecturers, they go to the United States or UK, they say, I worked with such and such professor. People know this. So when you say this, people, oh, you worked with him? So that's very important. Your chair will be there whenever you need him. Now, proposal. Statement of the problem and hypothesis, review of literature, significance and implication of the study, methodological and statistical design and writing style. So these are the typical stuff usually, and this is the reason I say, how do I know all these things? I have never written a research paper before in my life. And you're telling me coming up with a proposal and all these elements, even before I apply to you. So, you need to rethink, like the medical school foundation, 1 year, 2, whatever it takes. Somebody comes from math background, it's easy for him. Somebody comes from totally, let's say, fine arts, drawing. You know, I do have a student, you'll be surprised. She comes from fashion design. Undergraduate degree is fashion design. She used to do modeling. And all of a sudden, she realized that she wants to change her career. That's not what her T is. So she came back, got an MBA, struggled, and she came to PhD program and no math, this and that. She struggled all these things, but tenacity ultimately win her. And she finished her PhD. She got tenure in its quickest time, and she's a star right now. So in my book, you have an opportunity, you know, every moment of your life. You can be anything you want to, provided you have the mind and heart to the same place. And dissertation writing is the same thing. Now, purpose of an outline writing sample, the basic purpose of an outline is to assist you in the writing process. In particular, outlines helps you to, so it's like a roadmap, okay? It's from A, I'm going to go from here to Pahang. So I know I take GPS or whatever they use. Some of you probably don't because you have been going there every year. So you know where, but you need to have this outline, organize your ideas, present your ideas logically, show the relationship of ideas, construct an ordered overview of your writing, define boundaries and groups. And I'm sure your lecturer, your supervisor already have told you in different ways what you need to do this. Now, construction of an outline, before start to build an outline, answer the following questions. What is the purpose of my document? What objective do I plan to obtain by writing? What is the thesis or main idea of my document? Who is the audience for my document? Then use the following techniques to construct your outline. Use brainstorming to generate and list your ideas. So do you have, in Shah Alam, you have sea line? You have sea beaches close to Selangor, Shah Alam? Where are the sea beaches? Where do people go have fun by the ocean?
Yes, we do have.
1 hour from here. So, you know, one brainstorm, you'll get, you know, you'll be active. Your friends, say, your husband will say, why you are doing? Man, I'm creative. You know, like think about those who are mother, you know, giving birth to a baby. You do the same thing here. Sometimes you feel weird, this and that. Sometimes you have to go and take off, go to the sea beach and have fun. But don't eat too much, then you'll get. By the way, Malaysians eat a lot of nasi, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we did too. In Bangladesh. So start building your outline by evaluating, grouping your ideas, arrange your ideas systematically. You know, different people cope or stress differently. So you know your mindset how. For me, a coping mechanism is sleeping. If I struggle with something, I go and hit the bed. If my wife, you know, is angry with me something, I go and hit the bed. And by the time I woke up, everything is solved. So do the same thing. You find out what really your stress mechanism. Arrange your ideas systematically, create and label major topics and subtopics, use coordination and subordination to show how your ideas are related. Now, there are some myths, you know, and realities. I will get Nobel Prize by writing a dissertation. Believe me, I'm not going to get Nobel Prize by writing a dissertation. So there are only few and far between whose dissertation actually won them a Nobel Prize. You can count them. I have picked a dull topic. The topic is never dull. John Doe, somebody else has easier dissertation than mine. Oh my God, she is going, you know, cruising through and I'm struggling. She must have easier topic. Not really. Everybody is finished except me. I'm ruined. Kelly X at Harvard scooped me. There goes my dissertation. So you're working on something, someone else, someone working the same thing. It doesn't mean that you're saying someone, your dissertation go on. You can write multiple things on the same topic. The faculty is out to get me. You know, I don't get any cooperation. Everybody seems to be angry at me. They don't want to see me. Not really. I mean, it's a symbiotic. You probably has done something to them to get this one. Or the other way, the faculty has something to do that they don't like this faculty anymore. I'm talking with supervisor. I am ruined. The data is not panning out. Oh my God, I had all this thing collected data for 6 months. Now all the regression results are wrong or not coming the right. That is also a finding, right?
Yeah.
And we accept that. If you get the results the way you want, you have a paper. If you don't, you have a dissertation. So you have to keep this in mind. I'm alone in this world. Oh my God, nobody's out me. My wife is complaining, when you're going to finish your PhD, you know, I couldn't go take this vacation you promised me, blah, 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 you know. So you are alone. Sometimes you do feel alone. But that's very common. I'm selling my soul to the committee. You know, whatever they say, they make me slave. They said, do this, do this, do this. It seems I don't have any independent mind anymore. And you say, finally, once I'm done, I'm not going to look at this damn thing again in my life. Because it has given you so much pain. But believe me, you'll come back to it because you need to publish a few papers out of it. Now, doing research in quantitative finance. Now, we usually do epistemological or conceptual research. Those who come from Sharia background, let's say you are doing a Quran Sunnah, you can interpret in a new way. There is no data collection, right? Conceptual epistemology. But since you're business school, it probably doesn't apply to you, okay? Theoretical research and calibration. So let's say you are very good, engineering background, math is good. So you develop a model and you calibrate this model, calibration technique. So you do not touch the data, the model, and you generate data, and from the way you show the efficacy of your model or not. But for this one, you need to be very good in mathematical sciences or data sciences. Then the one that we do is the empirical research. Primary data analysis survey, you know, I get 80% of the research that I got from Malaysia is survey-based research. Because you're trying, yes, survey is necessary because something you're creating new, there is no secondary data exists. So what do? You run survey. But survey technique has developed too. Survey technique, the instrument that you do, it has to be vetted because you can run a survey, the survey speaks your thesis, right? So you have a hypothesis, you develop this questionnaire. So the end result will say what is hypothesized is proved by whatever the survey. No, but there is a technique and there is some software that so depending on what you want to do, there is software available. I do not do a lot of survey work. Even if I do Excel analysis, okay? Secondary data analysis, you have the market data. So there are capital market data in this country, the banking data, you can go and collect it and you can analyze it. And you can have the secondary qualitative data analysis, meta-analysis. There is a lot of called bibliometric you can do. You can do action-based research, okay? You can target you, I want to talk to you and extract your brain. So this is also research. But that is probably not applicable that much in this field because these are more like sociology, you know, those kind of soft areas. So research dissemination, then you have to worry about, you know, I wrote this paper, now I don't see any journal. All the journals are not going to take my paper because their journal has a rigorous standard and you are a little bit afraid of your, you know, what, you got your degree, but then you have to go back to the drawing board again. So let's see what it takes to convert your research now to a publishable paper. That's the reason I'm saying I prefer essay-based one because all these things are being done beforehand, before you finish your PhD. Okay, no well-recognized Islamic, if you do Islamic area, there are not many Islamic finance journals. The impact factor has become a big issue because when you apply in academia, Arlena can say, so they'll look at Q1, Q2, those kind of things. Otherwise, they didn't give you promotion. Or they make your life hell, okay? Or they're jealous of you. Okay, writing books, you can write text books, you can write edited volumes, or you can turn your dissertation into a scholarly publication too. Instead of going with the route of writing 3 essays, you can have a scholarly book. So these are some of the journals that if you work in the Islamic finance area, and I'll share these slides with you so that you can go and do this. But there are some also predatory journal online. In my recent search, I found there are 203 internet-based online journal. And you pay your fees, you get your paper published. You want to publish in 1 week, it will cost you 5,000 ringgit. If you want to publish in 3 months, 1,000 ringgit. So you have to be careful, and the academic community know about this, and you stay away from this one. It's better not to publish than to publish, because it's going to haunt you later in your career. Now, publishing in ISI rank journal. That's another big business going on in the academia right now. ISI is a new business model. It's a web of science, we call this. Should not depend on IS rankings only. You should do your research on Islamic banking finance, if that's your area, or any general area. You need to do your research, what is respectable, and where your paper idea theme goes with the theme and objectives of the journal. Now, what I have been advocating coming to Malaysia, and I think I'm glad that they have it, you have a Malaysian index, and that should be respected, so that if I'm a young researcher, I need to know which journals I should target. So that gives you, instead of depending on the ranking done by the Western world, because they want to sell their journal to you. Have you noticed, you do your own work, 3 or 4 years of work, then you write and spend a lot of money, you send this paper to a journal, they ask you a submission fee. Submission fee could be anywhere between $100 to $1,000. And you can lose it in 1 week. It can be just rejected. You do not get a single penny back. Then you are lucky, then it's put into review process. And I'm coming to this point that after 3 reviews, your paper gets accepted, okay? Then when your paper gets accepted, then they'll ask you want to do it publish online, what's the word? Open access. Open access means you pay another 3,000 bucks so that everybody can see it right away. Let's say you are under pressure and your department dean is very, not a bad guy. He wants to see exactly something in print, but it's not going to come out for another 2 years, because if you go to subscription basis, then you have to pay 3,000 bucks. And you give your copyright to the journal. It's your intellectual product. You're doing everything. You're selling your soul to them, and they're making money out of it. And you know what could be a better business than this one? This Emerald, every publishing house that's based in the United States and Netherlands, like Elsevier, Wiley, Springer, this is their business model. Now, what should I do as a dissertation chair? The role. So I told you what you should do. I tell you what I should do. So role of dissertation chair, timely input from your dissertation committee members requires timely submission of your work to the committee. So you have to do your part, then my part starts. So you should give your dissertation committee at least 2 weeks to provide you with feedback. Just don't give it, on the way from work home, and your dissertation super office on the way, you drop him. I'm going to see you 2 days later. No, he has life too, right? He has a husband, wife, those kind of thing. He is to, go to the grocery. So those kind of thing, we have to keep this in mind. I'm talking about the respect for each other's time. But when you're a PhD students in the United States, you don't have any respect. You become basically a slave, I tell you. Nobody tells you. Because you have to please your supervisor every possible way. And supervisor also looks after your own interest. I've been fortunate over the years, I would call someone 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll say, are you sleeping? Because I know they're sleeping better too. So I catch them the right time. Some of them work late, some of them work early morning. So it works out. I'm talking about, respecting each other's time, space, and so on. You must also keep in mind that the time period could lengthen the more dissertation committee, the members you committee. So usually you should not try to make it big. Some universities have a regulation. You have to have a 3-member committee. Some universities don't have a regulation. So don't take the idea, if you have more members, you get more ideas. It's not. Because ultimately, when you stand for the Viva voice, this final dissertation defense, you call this, everybody has to agree. Even though chairman is the main king, like Nan Sultan, you have to agree that she deserves a PhD. Same thing there. So you have to have this relationship. You guys are getting sleepy? I see your eyes are getting smaller. You must therefore adjust the submission of your work to the committee in a fashion that accommodate your committee's time constraints. Right now, you know, I've been in and out from America for the last 1 month. I left on the 15th. I go there 2 days, come back. So everybody's looking after me. But I do communicate. One good thing happened in the virtual world. Even though wherever I am, I can communicate, I talk to them, I can Zoom them. So it's a seamless way it's working. Now I give, for me, formal input based on a written work. So you have to, you know, just think, you just do this experiment on you. You can think a lot of things, but when you try to put into word and writing, it's really tough job. Not all of us are natural writers. And I have noticed from my survey, those who had undergraduate degree from Malaysians, from the United States or English-speaking country, they write relatively better than those who go to school in this country. I'm talking about no pun attached. I'm not trying to, you know, so like Arlena, the way she talks and the way she writes, because she had her undergraduate degree from the United States. For me, I never went to English level school in Bangladesh. I always in mother tongue. I had serious trouble when I came to the United States to do my undergrad. I had to take English as a second language. So you have to keep this in mind on the variation. First thing, you know thyself, as Socrates said. You should know what is your strength and what is your weakness. You own your strength and you work on your weaknesses so that by the time you finish your PhD, you have evaluated, you feel good about yourself. I mean, if you get a degree, you know, by doing hanky-panky, this and that, and you don't feel good about it, how good does it do? It becomes a constant, you know, in your back of your head, you know, probably I didn't do it right. So I respond to the written work, allows time for pondering. However, I want to hear and provide informal feedback based on discussion of a dissertation with you, and will ask you that you provide me with short oral synopsis of what you are doing as you progress. So actually, I do have a regular weekly or bi-weekly meeting. I tell them, you tell me, you know, some of them, because it's very difficult in writing stage, some of them cannot write. 1 week doesn't coming out. I told them, you tell me, you know, write me, send me an email that I was not able to write anything. That is your progress report. So when you do this, that also disciplines you, forces you. If you have some lethargy or inertia, you overcome it. So I expect written work to be precise and concise and developed in a professional and logical sequence with appropriate attention to the relevant literature. Your work should state clearly what the contribution of a research are and why it is relevant and important. The work should be neat with minimal grammatical errors and misspelling and be documented and footnoted. Appropriate table should be in notes to the table. You explain what the table says, like you have an X-ray and the doctor tells you what the X-ray says. So when you look at this table speaks to you. Now, with this new technology, ChatGPT, there are two things. ChatGPT you should use, but artificial intelligence to help you to navigate. So let's say you are studying something, you ask ChatGPT, I want to do this brain surgery, and it will give me the references. So those type of thing you do, you can do Quillbot something, write something, you can use Grammarly to improve your English. That is perfectly acceptable, and you should do that because you are not English speaker. Neither I am. I have a Grammarly on my thing. I write something, it corrects, helps me, guide me, which is the correct way, and do this, and that will be to your advantage. Now you have done your dissertation. Now you have to publish it. Again, some of you probably don't have to publish it because you got your degree, you got your promotion in the private sector, but those are in academia, you do. Publish or perish. But I don't like that idea either. Why I have to be perish, you know? I mean, this is, we are putting an undue
emphasis or weighted on publication for promotion dossier. In this country, in the United States, it's not like this. You know, you have to publish roughly one article acceptable in good journal over a 5-6 year time period. So if you have 6 papers, by the time you come up for 10 years, you are all right. But I think the requirement is much higher here, right? In terms of publication. One publication per year.
So, expect the position can be like especially for this time period, but for minimum is 5 of the extras.
But it has to be certain quality journal, right? It cannot be on the index, okay. And do you give this guideline to the new faculty when you hire them? So this is the handbook that you have to follow. Okay, very good. So look at the publishing market. I already told you something: rewriting, preparation of a manuscript, submission, review process, conclusion. So let's go through publishing market. There are thousands, sometimes 100,000 papers received each year. Acceptance rates could be anywhere 5 to 10% in top journals and 20 to 30% in most journals. So I give you 3 top journals in finance area. Journal of Finance, acceptance rate is 5%. Journal of Financial Economics is 15%. JFQA is 8%. And there is also new metrics coming out, they call this impact factor. So it's not only Q1, Q2, they also look at the impact factor. When you submit your promotion dossier, you have to mention all of these things. Now, papers are, I cannot see even my, okay, rejected at 3 stages. Without review, as I said, that's reject. You lose your $300 right away. Then after review, about 45%, and after revision, about 5%. So you can say the 5% is the magic number if you take average them. Now, publishing market, what is it? Why papers are rejected? What are the general reasons? Issue not important, not original. Oh, anybody knows. You know, if 10 people knows this, so it's a common knowledge, right? That's why your advisor and supervisor should guide you. Then you are sending a paper, you're sending a paper to wrong journal. So that's another reason gets rejected. Data is old and now irrelevant. You know, you have written a data ends until 2015 and 2023. I'm not going to into so many things came out during this time. Practical difficulties, doubtful results. Probably you are trying to force something, the data mining. Data actually should not be telling that way. So nowadays they are making it, it is a mandatory that you have to provide your data set, you have to provide your code, you have to tell which software they use, so they will rerun it, and if there's discrepancy, your paper will be rejected. And it is becoming very more and more common in academic publishing. So conflict of interest. So, you know, you're sending a paper to Arlena, and she is the editor, and she's my buddy. There's conflict of interest. Of course, it works. You know, don't tell she's my friend, but she's my friend. She's helping me to get my paper published. It happens a lot. It happens everywhere, really. You know, when you get married, remember? So you talk about this guy. Do you know this guy? A proposal came in. The guy does the same thing. You know this girl? So we do this. No, gossiping, you know, is collecting information. We want to reduce information asymmetry, right? Like arranged marriage, you believe in our time or our grandparents' time, you know, parents used to determine who you should marry because they somewhere know who is works with what. And actually, we should go back to this age, really. You know, we are given too much freedom. We think that we got it right. I asked my son, I told, you know, his father is studying in the United States context. So you like this girl. Did you meet any other girl? I said, no. So you should go and meet other girls. So you do have a comparison. They said, no, that will be cheating then. So he met one girl in his life and fell in love. He married one. So this is, but we pray and hope that he got choose the right one and he will be married like we've been 33. My 33-year marriage is coming on wedding is in next month, January 3rd. And fortunately, we go to perform Umrah this time. So that blessing to Allah. Actually, nowadays, in the United States, is marriage, family is breaking up. The average marriage in a person's life in the United States, minimum 3 times. Yes. And it is not only the Western people, because my children look like me, but they're American, right? They think like American, act like American. Yeah. So hoping the marriage stability is very important. I believe in marriage stability. Whatever I could achieve up until now because of my wife. She's very kind, generous, and forgiving. I travel all over the world and we have 2 kids and she raised those kids very well, went to Harvard. She has a very responsible, she's a practicing physician. So sometimes I think it's a blessing in a good marriage. And parents probably play a very critical role as well too. They can see because we did. What I tell my children, and if you have children, they know more than you do, knowledge, because they are hooked to the internet, this and that. A 10-year boy, what he knows, you didn't know that much when you're 10 years old because of access to information. But what they're lacking is wisdom. Yeah. Wisdom comes through age and many ups and downs and trial and tribulation. Anyway, so that's about marriage and family. Come back to publishing market. So why papers are rejected? We're talking still, there could be scientific reasons. Unclear hypothesis, poor or weak design, sample biased or too small. You're running a regression with 20 data points. So it's going to give you a biased result to begin with. Statistics inappropriate or misapplied. Conclusions are unjustified. References outdated. So I edit a journal. So when you reject a journal, we have to give a reason, write down why we are rejecting ultimately paper. Even after the paper has been reviewed 2 times. If we do dash reject, it's for gross. Paper, we run it through eternity. We find the similarity is 40%. It's gone. You have to check. Plagiarism and similarity is not the same thing. Sometimes we miss. I did not copy something, but it comes out the same because many people. So when you take the similarity, you try to paraphrase it, reduce the similarity. So plagiarism is stealing somebody's word. So I do not want to use this word plagiarism. It's a very dirty word. Okay. Conclusions are unjustified, references outdated. Why papers are rejected, presentation style, poorly organized, badly written. So you must, sometimes I see a paper as journal editor, first draft, they send it. They couldn't wait. You have to polish it, you have to go through, you have to run it through about your friends. Nobody's going to steal your idea. Let your friend read. So whatever you cannot see, your friend can see, you can improve it. Careless error, terrible tables. Tables are, you just simply, just copy and paste the output of your software. You shouldn't do that. Needless figures. You have too many figures, too many tables. Many journals tell you it should not be more than 8 tables or should not be more than 3 figures because you have to mention the tables and figures because each table takes up 1 page. They have this page limitation or word limitation. So even though journal editor doesn't mind, but the publisher will come back, can you ask the author to reduce and say it in a different way? So because you know this, you should act beforehand, right? So pre-writing, what is the word? Okay, determine what to write. Okay. Good research always starts by identifying a real world problem. Original, the better. Contribution should be timely in relation to contemporary dialogues and should add new knowledge. So, you might wonder, because I'm in the finance world, so I read Wall Street Journal, I read Economist, I subscribe to them, I read New York Times, I get a lot of ideas. So you have to read, to generate, then you try to connect what theories it can be analyzed and so on. So in order to be a good writer, you have to be a good reader. You have to read a lot. And nowadays you don't. We invented Twitter X, the 100 whatever character. And if you have teenage, small children, this iPhone. I was always against iPhone. And I even registered many years to give iPhone to my kids. So finally I lost, always goes to children. So when they were in college and high school, the iPhone came out, they bought them one. So I got one. And I didn't know how to use it. So during COVID, there's a fatwa came in because I couldn't go to the mosque to pay Jummah. So one day there's a fatwa came in that the Imam goes to the mosque and in front of, the camera. So it is streamed to the YouTube and Facebook. So I opened my Facebook in half an hour without doing anything. Guess what? So, and then when you open a Facebook, people just find out they want to send you friend request. I thought that it's a good idea. People know me. Past 3 months, my Facebook friend became 1,000. Whoever call, this, I just, okay, accept. And then my son came to, Dad, you just opened your Facebook, you 1,000, I don't even 500. So what did you do? I said, I accepted. No, you don't do that. Anyway, so Facebook come in and this and that. Now I am almost addicted to Facebook. I don't have any, just I look at, some news, sometimes music, sometimes a reel of a movie. Then once you're in it, by the time you finish, it takes half an hour to 1 hour, it's gone, right? You could have productively used that time. So I have decided I'm going to get out of this Facebook because it's affecting my point I'm trying to make. This addiction in anywhere, it is not right, it's wrong. What I'm saying about Facebook? Oh. You have your children. Have you noticed that did they want to talk to you? No, they are very busy, right? I'm busy, Dad. If you have a college going on, they will referee, but they used to always think to you, back to your mom. But this same guy goes to college and forgets it. Not forgetting you, he's in a different life. He has friends and this and that. He misses you. All these things are right. But as a father, I want to talk to my kids. So when my children, went to college, I see the frequency of talking and calling is going down. So I said, why you are not like before? I said, Dad, we're busy. I said, okay, busy. So next time I design. So whenever they want money, I said, talk to me for 10 minutes, then you'll get the money. So that's the way I could talk to them. But coming back to your kids, in the same house, because they are so much, you probably don't know the functionality your teenage daughter or son knows about how different functionalities. So they are always in the Facebook, they talk to a friend. And if you are in the same two-story building and the dinner tanker say, hey, Amina, come down. And Amina doesn't respond. So you send a text message, 30 seconds she responds. I mean, communication, has changed also. So now, right now with the hybrid mode, I hate online teaching because all I'm seeing is screen, right? And the time my whole the teaching career, I teach in front. So this COVID has changed a lot of things. And this hybrid mode and this online teaching will become more and more common, not an exception. And this new generation feels more comfortable of doing this online than going to a classroom. And that's going to happen. We cannot, but we have to, one of these things that I'm worried is the cheating. Cheating is very rampant on online teaching. Okay, so you pre-write, be specific of the topic so that you can write in depth about it. Decide to write only after you have accumulated sufficient data to support your claim. Don't put two good ideas into one paper. You know, if you ever have two good ideas, write two papers. So that also you are maximized because in numbers as well. Then what did I say here? Consider audience. So you have to really consider audience. The next one. Yes. You know, nowadays you will rarely see that a single authored paper. Any bibliometric study, you know, I have done some. I'm sharing, you read this, I have some published paper. 90% of the papers are co-authored because this technology, the knowledge base is exponentially growing. So you can be, in order to write a paper, you have to be an idea generator. Not everyone can generate ideas. You have to be good in data collection. Data collection and organization is skill by itself. Not everyone likes it. Now, then you have to do analysis, statistical analysis. Not everyone likes it. Then you have to write. Not everyone is a good writer. Then you have to put this in a complete whole. So co-authoring is not a bad idea, but you be honest. It's not, free writer or somebody else. So you can write, I can do analysis, so we can combine our strength and co-authorship too. Having said this, you will face this problem. So I'm just breaking the ice. If you think that you are weak in statistical analysis data, you take help, no problem. But let your advisor know that I am weak, I'm taking help, but learn it. If you do not learn it, just give it this job to somebody else for the, giving some honorarium something. Don't do that. That will be, I would not say cheating, but it does kill the purpose, right? Yeah. But you may have to take this service, but learn it. Because you know what it will take you 100 hours. If you have a coach, he is teaching you how to run it, you learn it in 10 hours. But learn it, make it on your own. Am I making sense? Yes. Okay, pre-writing, what is that? Okay. So familiarize yourself through with potential journals. And that's where your advisor comes and play a role. Or find a journal that will accept the kind of research you want to do. And that comes with wisdom. That's why you need a mentor. Now, skim your target journal for the past 5 years, research question methodologies, get current information about the target journal, editorial board members, what interests the editors, writing style, rejection rate, review time, because this is relevant for you because you have to have some published paper before you get your degree. That's the reason I'm saying this. I do not make the same speech in the American students because they don't, this is not a requirement that you have to publish before you get your degree. Know whether the journal has national or international focus, write for the journal, approach different types of journal for different articles. Then what is that? Throw in up to the review process. So if a weak review of literature, author does not have sufficient command of the topic to make a significant contribution. You have to have a good knowledge. I always tell my student, this is the topic you have chosen. You have to be a master of this topic, of this specific area. You will know more than I do. You will teach me because you are current on this thing. So this is the place where you should, otherwise you see somebody has got your idea because you did not get or looked at very carefully that what is the research gap and so on. And I'm sure your advisors, telling you all this thing. Misleading or erroneous literature review, you are not qualified to write on the topic or you are careless. No, you have to read a paper, you have to get the exact meaning of the paper, not something different, what the authors had intended to say. So that is also a skill set, reading something and summarizing it, main points. For the topic, cite most relevant literature, be sure to reference influential sources, read the sources you cite. So then you prepare a manuscript, paper format, structure, abstract, if so required, and abstract is the most important part of your paper. And you always write at the end. When you send a paper to a journal, the first thing they look at abstract and first paragraph of your introduction. If the editor doesn't like it, that's rejected. And 50% of the paper are just rejected. So you have to really put your all your energy into this abstract, make it tell the whole story, tell it well. Maybe all that is seen will influence the editor. Title, choose with care, not too clever or not too verbose, a paragraph. And I have seen, this title is so big. Usually the word says the 15 to 20 words max, the title. The shorter the title catchy, the better it is. Paper format, introduction, construct as an inverted pyramid, move from broad statement to rationale for the study, why this study. Catchy opening sentence, keep it short, tell what you set out to do and what you found. So you have to basically give a snapshot of your paper, what is coming next. I'm not a good writer. I try, still try. But there are some natural writers, it just automatically flows. And I'm sure you have siblings, one of the brother writes so well. It's everywhere, in my academia too. It's not English being a mother tongue. Writing is a gift. Not everyone can write. I have all of my colleagues, the English speaking colleagues, they're bad writers. I write better than them. I tell them. They usually bring their paper to me. So just because English your mother tongue doesn't, so this is also a skill set you should develop. Justify your study, not a literature review. It may cite things that motivate, but should never review them. So sometimes you bring your literature review introduction, you never do that. Hey, you guys are tired? Almost, right? I'm also coming to an end. Everybody's sleeping. Okay, so paper format, throw an up-to-date review of the literature, be critical, not just state what others have done, connect your research to the field, include a discussion section that connects the manuscript to the larger field. Now, hypothesis, motivate your empirical work. It's very important, clearly your ideas in reader's mind. So you want your reader to read it. You want to motivate them. Every paragraph you move so that you give them incentive for the reader to move forward. Because when I review an article, I read the introduction, conclusion, and conclusion. And if I don't see anything exciting, I don't read in the middle. So you have to make it enchanting, a magical flow that your reader reads it. Tell the story. To assess XYZ, we did ABC procedure using XA technique. So you have to tell a story like, you have to be a good storyteller. If new measures or procedure described in detail in appendix or other formats. So now then you do empirics, your descriptive statistics often can make main points. You always have to start with descriptive. And it tells you which way your results are going. Build from graphics, which must be good and able to understand without reference to the text. Use figures sparingly. Tell the story briefly. We found that rather than telling Sharan Nuzul, something. Be succinct and so on. Place results in perspective. Other studies about access to repetition. Restricts interpretation to the results. Don't try to invent something which result doesn't tell you. Many often we do. We want to tell what we had in mind rather than what the results are telling you. Implication for practice or research, and don't conclude more research is needed. If you do this in this stage, then they will say that do it. You do it at the end, when the conclusion part, okay, I have done this, but could be extended this way, in a polite way. But if you get the idea, it could have been done, said, okay, go and do it, and resubmit the paper. So you have to be careful. So you prepare your manuscript, restate main findings, key results, and move quickly to broad conclusion in the context of literature, state what you have added. So you have to motivate why you're doing it, how you are doing it, and what you are contributing to the literature. What is the value added? If the value added is there, it's adding zero. So you have to be mindful of that. You have to describe the limitations, outline some important topics for further research, and place paper format, references, tables. You have to do it right. You have to follow APA, different journals are different. So when you submit it to a journal, go to the journal style guidelines. You have to follow them. Otherwise, it will be sent back to you. Then you have to do the work again. So instead of repeating it, you make sure do it right. You get help from others. I mean it. Pass it around. Get comments from potential referee. Ask your referee, supervisor, of course, has to read it. But if you write a paper after dissertation, you get comments from your co-authors. Seek criticism for colleagues. Believe me, you are not going to get a Nobel Prize by writing this paper. We are all have our infallibility. We are not. So you have strengths and weaknesses. We want to send some criticism. Oh, you have done this part good. Get mentors' advice. Put it away for a while. Go for a vacation. Then come back and look at the paper. You see some other more dirty things coming out of the paper. Then you polish it and you send it to a journal. Revise for accuracy, brevity, clarity, grace. Vary state sentence and paragraph lengths. Make transition between paragraphs. So these are standard writing English. When you take English class, your English professor has taught all of these things. And that is very handy right now. If you have followed your professor that time or high school English teacher, you're in good position because she taught you how to be a good writer. Choose the right word, avoid weak verbs and connectives. So, in our part of the world, we do use not active voice, passive voice. Passive voice is frowned upon in Western literature. So you have to say in active, I, you, and all this thing. Rather, it has been done by me, those kind of things. When I was in Bangladesh growing up, that's the way I learned. I changed my writing style completely coming to the United States. Prune empty phrases and words. Avoid passive voice. Prune. You use Grammarly, use Quillbot or any other and try to make it more and more meaningful. Then you submit. Always follow the precisely manuscript preparation instruction. It happens to me still now. 3 times I submit a paper. Every time I do, I thought that I got it right and something was missing. Then nowadays it's easy because you think that somebody manually do, not really. They have this artificial intelligence, they pick it up. What part is missing from that article? Then send it back to you, then you have to do it. So make sure you follow the guidelines very properly. Do not exceed the page limit. Usually the standard page limit is 30 to 40 pages, all inclusive, because journals don't like big papers, okay? You have to write a good cover letter in sending, carefully follow the submission guideline. There will be review process. Now, when phase 1, what happens? You get an acknowledgement and editorial review. Some papers might be rejected at this stage. You'll be lucky if you pass this stage that you have a chance. You get a second life. Then what happens? Phase 2, send manuscript at least 2 to 5 reviewers and notify the author that the submission is in review. And reviewers are selected for diversity in critical and theoretical perspectives, gender, nationality, methods, and methodology. Some journal will ask you to give the name of the 4 or 5 reviewers. The editors may or may not use any of them. But from this list, they get an idea of what type of people you are suggesting. So that helps them to assign their own reviewers. It makes their life easy. So you are doing everything to please the editor, to please the reviewer so that your paper gets accepted. If your paper gets accepted, you get your job, permanent, you get your promotion, and you live happily ever after, okay? Now, sometimes you not hear from the journal editor for 5 to 6 months. So when you do that, you send a polite letter, not send a paper letter after 1 month. Usually wait 3 to 4 months. I haven't heard polite, and usually they will respond that, okay, your paper has been under review process, we are having problem finding reviewers and so on. Now, phase 3, the editor's decision after it is reviewed, the editor could say, accept the manuscript as it is. It never happens. It is extremely rare. In my live publication, I had a paper accepted in 1 month, shortest, and 11 years. Yeah, it changed hand, this publisher, this and that. Same journal, it got lost. And when I started, it was a paper submission. It's not online. So multiple things happen. So you have to be patient, okay? Accept is pending the completion of specific revision. That is more common, okay? Invite a revision and resubmit. Then also very common. So if you get second or third, you will be lucky. Fourth one, you don't want to see reject, okay? And believe me, rejection is part of life, get used to it. I get rejection every day, you know. Remember your younger days when, you know, you tried to propose a girl, got rejected, for the first time, you have to do the same thing here. Now make each and every changes in the manuscript as detailed in the editor's letter to you. So once you get it back, make sure you revise it, follow word for word, explain how you address those revision in a cover letter that accompanies the revision. Once done, return your revised manuscript to the editor. Do not question. Even if you know that this reviewer is dead wrong, people lie. Maybe you meant this and this and that. Like, you know, think about, you know, try to owe your wife or husband. You said the same thing, actually. Oh, you know, maybe, yeah. But those said, man, you're a stupid dog. If you do say this, I can guarantee you, your paper will not be accepted, and you may appeal it, but editors very rarely go against the reviewer's comments, okay? The reviewer is the guideline. So you do this, you pay special attention to this letter, reviewers' comments and so on. Same reviewers will be reviewed again, accompany your submission with a cover letter explaining how you address those issues. If you choose not to make every changes, explain why in a letter to the editor. Don't tell to the reviewer that you'll be in trouble. You know, you owe him, try to bypass, you know, deflect the point, but you explain to the editor that, look, I couldn't do this, this is the thing, and I think the reviewer is unreasonable. And editor understands, because editor is a guy, wise guy, he has experience and so on. Resubmit as quick as possible. So you got a revised submit, you wait on this for 1 year. Believe me, by this time, editor might die. So the whole structure will change. So you do it very quickly in order to get your publication. Okay. Now, if you get rejected, what do you do? Face it. Nobel Prize work gets rejected. Rejection is not personal. Read carefully all the paperwork that you received from the rejecting journal. Identify why rejected. It could be general, scientific, or presentation style. Don't give up. Revise addressing all the issues and resubmit to a different journal. But one mistake you always do, okay, you got rejected, right away send another journal. Don't do that. Because it might end up going to the same reviewer again. And it happens with me too. So I learned from my experience. So try to address it as much as you can, revise it, and send it to another journal. Conclusion. Finally, you are praying to God when He's going to let us know. Journals need papers almost as much as authors need journals, and editors want their journals to be read and their papers to be cited. It is easier to get letter and brief accepted short paper. You decide if you want to go that route. There's nothing wrong with it. Some journals have fast track. You know, instead, okay, you want to get a decision in 3 months, you have to pay additional fee because they run it through, even JF does it. There's nothing wrong with it. If you're so sure that your idea is so unique, you have done so, somebody else might do it, you can follow this, because if you get this paper accepted, you'll be the leader, first mover advantage, right? Everybody is going to cite you. So duplicate publication and not telling. Do not send to, and it happens. The same paper is published in one journal, the other journal, then you submit, you got 2 publications. Probably you change the title and so on. Don't do that. It is professionally suicidal. Salami slicing and not tolling. You know, you cut one paper into 5 different papers to make it big. Don't do that. It doesn't look good. Media coverage prior to publication. Some people do that. Work publish, but I don't do that. I wait until my paper gets accepted and published. Finally, getting published, preferably in a prestigious journal, is also a product of luck. You do everything, you're only in 6%. Somebody else has done the same thing, probably his paper or her paper get there first, he gets it, you get rejected. Your journal is not going to publish the same type of paper twice. Treating an interesting and timely topic and getting an impartial and interested referee who is willing to spend the time necessary to help get your paper into publishable form. always publish with a purpose. Just don't publish for the heck of publishing. Good luck. So this counts my years of my experience. So this is all, not all of my ideas. I borrowed ideas, my experience, and so on. So I want to acknowledge it in my presentation. So thank you very much. This is the end of my presentation. I take a little longer than what I supposed to, but 15 minutes extra. But we also started 15 minutes late, right? So if you have any question, I will be happy to answer. Or if you don't have a question, I assume that you have understood me 100%.
What is your advice on how to actually to nail down the research specific dissertation?
Oh my God, if I knew the answer. You have to work very closely. First of all, you have to choose the right supervisor. And with the knowledge in the area specifically that you're working on. A supervisor can guide you through her wisdom, how you narrow the topic. But in order to do this, you have to do some background work on your own. And there is a new technique called bibliometric review, and it's easy to be done. ChatGPT can do that, or there is a BOSS software, there are online software. So let's say you want to do work in gender equity in Malaysian companies. So you do literature search. So you narrow it down. You also help your professor to help you. Because remember, this is your area. You will be the expert. You know more than your professor does. So professor can then share your wisdom with you. Okay, Zainullah, this is too broad. Narrow it down. There are so many ideas. Pick one or two. So that's the way it goes. And once you get this idea done, then your half of a dissertation is done. Then everything is smooth. Says very smoothly afterward. I do, and from my experience, because I do external examiners of so many, I think Malaysia should give me a Datu sheet. Yeah, because I contributed so much to Malaysian. Last count was like 50. I have given external, evaluator of promotion about 100 Malaysian professors. So I deserve a Datu sheet. So help me to get the Datu sheet. Okay, point I'm trying to say that I would say it's my class now, supervisor also had to take a personal interest. They should not be taking students they cannot supervise or they are overwhelmed. It's better to say no, find another one, because otherwise you are doing disservice to your student. And I'm seeing this a lot. Because, I have a saying, I always teach my Malaysian friends, colleagues. Here in Malaysia, once you become an associate professor, your productivity drops substantially. You no longer publish because you make money from outside. This is the reality. Your family grows. If you do a consultancy here, you make money. Consultancy, writing a paper does not give you the rate of return. Talking about they compare. But if you want to establish yourself as an authority in your own field, this should be your ibadah. Take this as an ibadah, serving God, creating knowledge, and that is and also helping your students like zakat of your knowledge. If you create another student like you, and this is what, if you look the history of Islamic scholars, their students become bigger than them. And this is what I would advise my colleagues, those who play the supervisor role, play that role. I see this is missing. Some of the dissertation, I see why they send it to me. Because it's missing the connection. I can see the connection between supervisor and supervisee is missing. So I would request the supervisors to get more active and involved, and also it's your responsibility to poke them. They love, disturb them. You have to figure out the mind. So you have to be a psychologist. You have to read your supervisor mind. What time the supervisor is active, what she likes, this and that. And you play through his mind. Same thing I do with my students too. It works perfect. We know each other. It's like a happy marriage. but in a different way. And I know it was a good thing. I didn't have chance last time to talk. I really enjoyed myself talking to you. So anytime if you need anything, shoot me an email. I'm always accessible. You share my WhatsApp number or email. So please.
Okay, I guess that's it for today. So thank you so much for the company for sharing, this with knowledge, so hopefully, all of you are, motivated to start, thinking about